Ladies, lovelies, and gents, welcome to the ChiCast. I'm your voice of mindfulness, Marcus Julian Carbo, coming to you live from TCWM Studio in the city of brotherly love. And what an afternoon it has been. In fact, for the last 3 days, it feels like autumn is setting upon us. We've actually had several days of 70-degree weather. It's only supposed to get into the low 80s today. So I actually got to wear jeans, reopening a whole section of my wardrobe, which is actually kind of nice. So let's talk to you a little bit. What are the things that are changing? I'm thinking about this as well with my cycling kit. I'm going to have to start adding pieces here shortly. I might get the final ride of the year out the way, with the summer kit still on, given that it's the first weekend of October, and it starts at around 8 a.m. But there is a good bet that I'm going to want to wear a jacket while I'm there, before the ride gets started. And so, with fall coming upon us, what are the things you're looking forward to? Now, I know, current events are as they are. But while conflict rages in one part of the world, humanity is staring out into the cosmos. And if you're wondering what that means to us, many of the technologies we now have, many of the technologies that are saving lives around the world, come from that research, those discoveries and interactions out in the cosmos. Understanding, yes, once again, the Tao at work. How? All things speak of all things. And if you want to understand yourself, you merely look into the universe. If you want to understand the universe, you need only look into yourself. And so, while there are forces which are trying to drive us backward, there are energies pushing us forward. And that is always the way of it. And so, this too is sacred. So, even with some parts of the world literally on fire, we can see the positive, we can see the way forward, we can see the pin of light at the end of the tunnel. And so, today, I'm thinking about, well, while I took some time off from editing and content creation and podcasting, and the honest truth is that I needed to take care of me. I needed to take the time to make sure I was healthy. But I also realized along the way that one of the things I needed to be sure of was not to hide the fact that I was struggling. It's very easy to do that. But right now, in this world, where everyone is struggling, letting other people know that we feel it too gives that sense of siblinghood that we can use to bridge many gaps that we find amongst us. And so I remembered, I promised you I'd keep it real. And if I were struggling, I'd let you know. But in letting you know, I'm actually fighting against the struggle. Because while the voice in my head says, you're not ready to do a ChiCast, they'll know you're anxious, they'll know you're struggling, there'll be no way to hide it. So why not just put it on the table? Why not take the power out of it? Why not give myself the power to have an answer to this? Let me make sure I'm doing my push-ups. And so that's what I've been doing, both figuratively and literally, searching for a balance in life, in the ebb and flow of the events, both personal and historic. Thankfully, in these times, I know that I can rely on my practice. But how? Well, I had to put it to the test. And I had to evolve it over time. That's what testing it means. Does this idea, which seems to land, actually work? And if it doesn't, can I shave some of it away? The parts not working away. And keep the good stuff. Keep the things that are actually worth diving into. Now, there is a danger with this. There are folks that have one or two things that they say that in reality reflect what true wisdom and sages actually have to say. But because it is coming from a place of outward influence, often a place of authority, it is not coming from an inner authenticity. For free people don't need to be told they're free. Healthy people don't need to be told they're healthy. And so, yeah, I took a break. Let me not go too far on a tangent here. I took a break. And it wasn't just a break of, I don't want to do this. I don't have the energy. I thought a lot about what I wanted to talk about. I thought a lot about what I wanted to bring to the table and where I was developmentally as a podcaster. And I highly suggest this at any point in time. It's sort of trimming the fat away. what may be great to do at one level may not work at another. For instance, the way one were to write would change over time as certain cadences and rhythms that march to the beat of their heart begin to develop. And over time, as they change, their writings will change. That's why whenever you're working on a project, just push through it. Maybe give it a second glance. Any project that takes on too much time ultimately becomes driven by someone who didn't invent the project, even though the name is still the same. If you hear what I'm talking about, or you've ever been in that situation, perhaps you stayed in a relationship for too long, or perhaps at a job and you've recently joined the Great Resignation. Perhaps you left an ideology, a political party. Let us know in the comments, not the specifics, just the generalizations. I once believed in a religion, and then one day I discovered XYZ. And that works. It shows a little something. And we'll talk about it down there in the comments. And since you're down there, please like, share, and subscribe. Help our family grow. Now, if I'm here and I'm struggling and I'm pushing through, I'm gonna ask you to do the same thing and share, get the family growing. And thank you for your views, for hanging out with me, for everything we do together. As always, I hope you find value in this. I hope you find value because these things can be applied in everyday life. If we build up ourselves, if we practice what we preach, it's not to say that we get it right every time. Of course not. But it's to say that when it's time to get it right, we're not second-guessing ourselves. We're not worried about being prepared. In fact, what we do find ourselves understanding is exactly what it's going to take to get to the end. The final race that I'm doing this season is 45 miles. At this point, I've knocked out 100 miles, 100 kilometers, and I believe this one is pretty flat. The other two big climbs. And I'm looking forward to taking this on because I know what I faced earlier in the year, and I know how much stronger I've gotten. And so, I'm really looking forward to this, to really see what I can open up and do. No doubts, no worries, no fear, because of the practice. And in this time, in the doldrums, if we are practicing our meditation, if we are practicing, well, our practice, our yoga, our Tai Chi, if we're truly practicing it, if we're defining it, evolving it, then we're finding where it serves us. We're testing it. when all is lost. And what I found through this was just maintaining that baseline routine to ground and center. That kept things afloat. It was a life raft. Still challenging myself, still growing and evolving, not allowing the practice to slip. But when we double down on the things that work, that's when we're filled. That's when we know that even though the winter has set in, spring will return. And at the height of summer, yes, the cold will ultimately set in. This too is sacred. And that means your practice is the build-up to the big event. That's the time between the games. Don't look at your practice as this thing to get right all the time. Enjoy it, lean into it, fine-tune it over and over like a grease monkey working on an engine, trying to get this and that just right. Whatever you're going to do that with, make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure you can throw yourself into it. Double down. Allow your life raft to in fact be your life raft. And I get it. For some of us, it's very hard in the moments that are prolonged, that are weighty, that cannot, in a sense, merely be put down, merely be let go. After all, the FBI and Experian never forget. Decisions, mistakes, abuses, injuries, traumas have a lasting effect on all of us. Building our practice allows us to relax when the worst of it comes. Let's not pretend that trauma isn't caused by a moment of carelessness. And by that, whatever hurt, whatever caused it, they didn't care about you. It was just about them. And if it was something like a natural disaster, or even a war, where it's not personal, and there's honestly no one to be mad at, yeah, you can't just let that go. That's hard. There's no justice in that. And so I hear you. I hear you. And that situation can often feel like being a prisoner in self-isolation. But when you listen to how inmates have survived being completely cut off from the rest of the world, it comes down to grounding, centering in your spirit, in your meditation, and making sure you stay fit and active even in that tiny space. Now I hear you. Though there are those of us living in a prison without bars, I get that. And until we can either serve our sentence or find our means of escape, our practice is what we will use as our life preserver as we're tossed around in the rapids. Head above water, still breathing. And when the rapids are over and you find the calm again, your life preserver just becomes this wonderful way to kind of float on the water and just enjoy the journey. In this, we see the yin and the yang at play. It's always right there, just hidden beneath the surface. And it's always been there. It's like your DNA, it's the oxygen in the air, it's the quarks and atoms that make all this stuff up. Always there underlying the very fabrics of reality, the very fabric of events. And you should be excited to know that you are in fact a part of that. And that's why it's important to never get too locked up in one side or another. There are those that will play that game, and that game is necessary to go on. But do we want to take sides and create enemies? Does that mean we are passive and condoning of icky, we'll say, actions? Absolutely not. But it does mean we can see why the action was taken. And only in that can we see how to prevent it in the future. And perhaps find peace with that person and those it affected. Or the event, yeah? So not picking sides. Understanding that good and bad, harmful and helpful are all mixed together and come from the same place. A counter only comes from a balance. And everywhere in nature, whether it be predator or prey, land and water, light and darkness, we see that competition. We see that the light the sun produces is what makes us aware of the darkness surrounding it. You can't have one without the other. So again, what are you going to do? Root for the darkness? Then the sun goes out and you have nothing. Should you root for the sun, it engulfs everything and you're left with nothing. These two need each other. And at any point, if that is forgotten, if at any point we forget the point of the game, what the game is showing us, well, that's when you start to get into that real competition. The darkness trying to crush the sun trying to fill the darkness, versus the two just living simultaneously, as they always have, and as they need to. So, I've never met a saint who wasn't a sinner first. And I never met a sinner that at one time or another claimed to be a saint. So there you have it. We can be free of opinion, and completely capable because of it. Not bogged down by ideologies, not wrapped up in what often amounts to hypocrisy. What we get to do is see it from a new perspective, from a new film, not from the filter of a nationality or an ethnicity or a religion or a frame of mind, or pick your poison. Allowing all those illusions to melt away, to see it for what it is, to observe as a third party. Then you can make the right decisions. Sometimes that will be to guide. Sometimes it will be your invitation to leave. Either way, you'll know what's coming. And the more you do this, the more you hold your practice, the more you double down on it, the easier it is to find it again. The easier it is to simply lean on it. And the longer it, saves you like that life preserver, you'll know that it will be there for you, even in the roughest waters. And what you're going through may be the roughest waters, and I hope they are. For when you make it through, any rough patch going forward will be easy. So, yes, I hope that what you're going through right now is the worst thing you'll ever encounter. And in that you find the strength in your practice to find your way through it. And if your practice, your prayers are going unanswered, then find one who can guide you to your answer. Not their answer, not what worked for them, not their dogma, not their mantras. Helping you discover yours. The ones that work for you, the ones that drive you forward and complete who you are as a person. Finding that place you fit in the universe. Yeah. These things go both ways. In the beginning of your practice, you'll find the more you talk about it, the more you understand how little you understand. And the more you understand that, the more you understand how much more there is to learn. And there you know your practice will always get stronger. It's just a matter of time spent. The 10,000 hours coming back once more. Allowing those reps of push-ups, allowing that time, painting, writing, calculating, allowing your passion to flourish, evolve, and develop. That's what we're looking for. If we hold on to that, if we make that our center, yeah, then we can make it through. Thank you for watching the ChiCast today. I'm your voice of mindfulness, Marcus Julian Carbo, coming to you from TCWM Studios in the city of brotherly love. Join us down in the comments to talk about times when you've struggled just in general, where you've leaned on your practice. Share bits of it, not as comparison, but as collaboration. If a certain meditation worked for you, Say, this worked for me. And if it makes sense to someone else, why not give it a try? If Tai Chi worked for everyone, that would be boring. But it does work for a lot of people, and that makes it fun. Find your practice doing the same, and you'll never go wrong. You'll always have that life preserver with you. Gotta love that, yeah? Once again, thank you for joining me. Do like, share, and subscribe. Keep the ball rolling. And remember, whatever you do out there, keep it simple, no matter how complex it gets. With others, be as patience allows. And for yourself, always bring compassion. Until we meet again, peace and love.